beginning, we are starting with a website design company. However, 2 years in, I really want to be working with partners, working with companies as a partners to see them continuously growing. So as a website design company, you don't get that people just build a website and forget about it. But that's why I kind of want to get into more marketing in terms of understanding how clients work with their finding their audience and growing their business the same way that our companies grow. So that's a big part for me. So Google Ads is one of the main channels that we've been doing. We are a Google partner. So some of the material that we get is actually getting it from the Google Ads platform that we have. And so you probably, with the introduction you've done, you probably start getting with the business. By the way, Google Ads just rebranded themselves because before it always been used to call Google AdWords, and it's only recently that they take out AdWords because they want to start focusing on emphasizing that there's just more than just words. Okay, but so we're going to touch a little bit on that.
Did you run your audio?
No, sorry. Audio is in recording it? Yeah, that's fine. I started it before, so it's pretty good. Okay, so I love this slide is because a lot of business owners, they're so busy. They're busy taking orders, they're busy. I know a lot of you are more service-based business, so you don't have inventory to think about, but you have to start thinking about how do you get your audience, how do you get your supply, how do you operate, how do you fulfill that account. So our goal is to start understanding what marketing means here and how we can help business owners. So I always like to put this slide out to understanding how the way that people get to know you. Zach, you mentioned that you a lot of business coming from referral, right? So when you imagine that you go to a networking event, you go to an industry event, you hand them business cards. A lot of times, guess what the first thing they're going to look you up, okay? Either on LinkedIn or on their website.
Later, share this PDF.
Yeah. So I recorded the seminar as well. I'm going to share the PowerPoint same time as a video.
Okay.
So I'm going to combine them and put them in the video.
Good.
And I'll share the link to you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, for sure. Sure. So this is kind of like a funnel that how people can get from not knowing who you are into your customer. So when people come in and visit your website and know who you are, technically they're called visitors. Okay, so they may not have an intention of buying your service, and they may not be ready for it. So there is one way to turn visitors into something called the leads. Leads is somebody who has an intention to buy something. So a lot of times you see on websites that they have something for you to download, like a video that you enter your email to see. That is capturing the leads. Okay? This is what we call capturing the leads. So by providing something of value, okay, you can help understanding the people who visit your website and seeing that they are intended to buy. But even though they have the intention, that they may not be ready. So having a stage of nurturing, meaning sending them like a regular update of newsletter, sending them updates of your industry, your thoughts and opinions, that may help understand and having multiple touch points to see where these intended clients are. When they're ready, they will look for you. Okay, just keeping the top of the mind. A lot of times people use offers to say, hey, by the way, this is Thanksgiving or Black Friday. There's an offer for us to get you up and become our customers. So that's one way to do it. And if you service them well, then they'll refer you business. And you can ask them to say, hey, can you help me refer more business? So that's part of the way to get more businesses in today's market. So in terms of Google Ads, Google Ads really serves as the top of the funnel. So meaning that it brings the people who has the intention to buy something, to use something. How many of you actually search on Google Ads for like, let's say plumber, or stuff like that, something that's emergency focused? Yeah, a lot of you. So a lot of people really do that, and when they do it, they have the intention that they need to look for a product. Okay, so a big part of doing Google Ads is that you have to understand what the intention of your clients are. Here's just some random stats. So there's a lot of businesses that are on there, and it is 97% of the total revenue. And believe it or not, mobile phones, they're a huge part right now, because when you start searching, let's say I just did a business lawyer on here, you can see the top 4 are ads. You can see little yellow ads on there. These are ads. And even on the map, this one doesn't show, but even the map where it shows like the location of where you're currently located, there can be ads on there as well. Okay, so it takes up a lot of real estate. And if you are searching on a mobile phone, that real estate, it takes up a huge screen share. So if you're not on there, people actually have to scroll like 3 times before they find a first non-ad space. So a lot of people start thinking about Google Ads as part of a overall marketing strategy, and a big part of it about the strategy is something called search engine optimization. That's a way to organically get your ranking up. But if you start competing with Google Ads, sometimes it's not as easy to get up as you think.
Is that like you want to be on the first page or second page? Is that the kind of content that's what you refer to?
Yeah, that's right. So we've been seeing a lot of services that say, your goal is to push your pages up to the first page. I still think that's the key. But I'm just saying that for a lot of businesses, that's a long process. That's a very long process, and you may not even get there. Okay, so.
Humphrey, do
Yes.
users, myself for instance, I will scroll past those ads because I know that they're not there on their own merit, they're just paying to get up there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll scroll down to the first one that is just there because of reviews or whatever.
Yeah, I hear it. And a lot of people do ask me that, and I do believe, that's why I do believe in organic ranking. But at the same time, you start looking at people who don't scroll through that much. There's a lot of people who just look up and say, okay, first couple are ads, right? And you start understanding the ad copy.
Can't scroll down.
No, a big part of it is
I'm
also,
with you on that one. I scroll past the first
but a
one.
big part of it is also having the right ad content, right? So that it's relevant, right? If you say, let's say you're doing the jewelry appraisal, right? So if you have something that's very compelling as an ad, right? People will click on it. People will click on it,
Yeah.
right? Meaning that if you're a local business, people like that value as a value. People know that you are reputable. People know that you've done different work, right? So you have to show that on the app, right? And Google Ads has that way to help you with that. Okay, so how Google AdWords works? Okay, so this is a very basic diagram, and it's focusing on the words. So when you go on Google search, you just type in certain keywords. Okay, you can set up different keywords that will show up. Say for example, I just used the word business lawyer. So that's a very generic keyword. So with that in mind, business lawyer is a very expensive keyword because a lot of people are searching for that keyword, and also it's very highly competitive keyword. Okay, as a business lawyer, I would probably suggest them use something a little bit in addition to the business lawyer term because it's expensive. Use something that's a little bit more niche. Okay, so it could be, give an example, maybe real estate transaction, commercial real estate transaction in White North, for example. That can be a very niche keyword, right? And not a lot of people will click on it. And the thing about Google Ads is that we don't get charged until the ads got clicked. So it can show up many times, but if people don't click on the ad, it doesn't get charged. Okay, that's for Google, the word ads. Okay. Any questions? So with the keywords, you can set different keywords, and they can show different ads that shows up, different ad copy, meaning different offer that you can say. And with that, it can bring you to a different area of your website or landing page. Okay. Yes.
So with the paid ads, how do they get ranked top? They pay more, or how does that?
Yeah. So there are a couple of things. One of them is the ad relevancy. How relevant is your ad with your landing page? Let's say if you're a company that sells shoes, and then you put in something as an ad or a keyword that sells shoes and T-shirt, for example. If you're searching for shoes and then your website's selling T-shirt, Google would actually say, hey, this is not really matching. You can still put it on as an ad, but you're going to charge a little bit more. Okay, so there are two factors that are calculating how high it would be. One of them is being how relevant the landing page is, how relevant that website, that page or website that you're selling that is, and the other one is the bids. Okay, so they have a very magic formula that kind of calculates based on these two factors. That's a good question.
In general, like top ones click mostly.
Yeah, in general, the top ones will get clicked 47% more than the second one. Okay, but that tells you that yes, people do click on that. But a lot of times, depending on the search tool, people search for your company. Your company name should always be either showing up first, or you can even put a little ad that puts it on as well. So people, that's a good strategy.
But if someone's just searching like shoe, right?
Yep.
And there's like 10 shoe companies.
Yep.
Would it be the one is closest in terms of the geography that will come first to the phone user? How would the analytics know to bring like
That's
one higher than the other?
that's the magic. That's the magic. That's the magic of Google. Like I say, it's if you have shoe.com, then shoe will probably show up first. Right? So they do look at, let's say, your domain relevancy. They do look at your, like I say, your page content and how reputable the page is. Right? Like if you have a brand new website ranking page, it may not even get as high, right? Or if people who click onto the website, but they don't stay around for a long time, just bounce right off, then they're gonna lower that score as well. So it's a very magical formula that they do use, and it's different for every business as well.
So you're saying that, for example, Central Park, if we try to put an ad up there for a shoe, because the content relevancy is not zero shoe, probably won't appear quite often.
They probably will not appear often, or they will probably take you a high amount to. They will still take your money.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. They will still take your money. So a lot of the scenario that came up is when people start advertising for your competitors. Right. Let's say for Central Park, let's say you probably want to put a keyword that says Regus Business Center, which is your competitor. If people search for Regus, you guys may want to show up. Right. So it's Regus as a keyword has nothing to do with you guys. Right. Yes, Google will still take your money by showing your ads out, and you still probably get some benefits out of it. Right. But your website doesn't show any words that says Regus. So your relevancy is very low, your ad relevancy is very low, but your bid, as long as it's high enough, will show up.
So you're allowed to have your competitor's name as one of your keywords.
Yep. I've seen that. That's one of the strategies that I would suggest. But don't put the whole farm in it.
No.
Put some in it. That's a good idea to do.
You said that you get charged per click, and when I received the statistics, there is something called conversion. Are you going to talk about that?
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Okay, so the different types of campaigns. I would say 5, but depending on how Google says it. So the search network is the Google AdWords campaign. That's the one that we look at the search engine. Just go search for the stuff. Display network, that's kind of like a banner ad, right? They will appear in different websites. So most of them are smaller websites that people just want to make some money, and then they will say, "Oh, this space I'll dedicate it for Google Ads." And so these are
Hey, come on in.
not necessarily the very person or not the main pages of the page, but they do get
So I need to
depending on your specific niche. You may show up. You may show up. And all of these are going through a competitive process, meaning that if there's somebody else who compete in the same space, then you have to bid a little bit higher in order to get displayed. There's shopping ads, which let's say you type in shoe, the screen actually on the right hand side, there's a lot of pictures. Those are the shopping ads. It works best for e-commerce stores or if you have a product to sell. And then there's of course video ads. That's a big part of YouTube. The pre-rolling ad, the middle ads, or even the ads that are on top or below of where the YouTube video is. Those are where the ad space is for video. And then we're going to talk about something called retargeting ads. So retargeting ads is when visitors land on your website. Okay, your website actually has this a piece of code. It's called a cookie that stores onto the user's device, and then throughout wherever you go, the ad will show up again. Okay, let's say when you go on Amazon and intended to buy something, let's say you try to look for shoes, and then you can start seeing that all these ads will show up on different various websites, or even Facebook. Right, so but we're just going to focus on the Google side. So this is what we call the retargeting ads on Google. It's a very powerful way to remind your clients or your potential clients about your service and keep yourself top of their mind.
There's one, I mean, it's kind of unrelated, but maybe it's related. And I think Google owns a division called AdMob.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that?
Not as much.
Okay,
Not as
so that's
much.
not part of this.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah, for sure. So digital marketing in terms of the ad buying is a huge part of the business. That's why Google is one of the top earning business. And they often invest in a lot of technologies that try to get your attention and being very specific, knowing what your intentions are. Right. So let's say search. A big part of searching is really choosing the right keywords. So my advice is often think of your avatar. Who is your ideal client and what would they think when they're looking for something? Some businesses are easier than others. Let's say jewelry appraisal, that's a very, very easy one to think about. But often, like nonprofits, maybe a little bit harder. All right, so understanding who they are and then understanding what kind of work they're looking for is the key. And oftentimes, a lot of business has more than one avatar, and meaning that they have the different ideal client, and they all would have different needs. Let's say I think for a plumber would say, for those who are in single family home, they may say, water leaking or bathroom leaking. But when they're working with a commercial client, they may have something called, water pipe burst or something like that. So some of the keywords are similar, but some of them are different. And having a different set of keywords and you structure it the right way should bring you a different set of ads that cater to that audience. Okay, so part of the right keywords is that having the right ads matching the right keywords. That would be the best. The best. And for example, for keywords, you can also setting something called geo-targeting. So let's say if you only want to advertise within a certain radius or within a certain postal code, okay, then you can just say, this is what I'm going to do. And the ad will only show up within that area. So that's helpful for small businesses that can only serve a certain area. And some of the tools that we have are listed up there. Google Keyword Planner, I'm going to have a screen after this. Something called ubersuggest.io. My clients use that before, just to look for different related keywords. And the big part of the tool is actually Google Analytics. So if you have a website, you're most likely having something called Analytics as a tool that you can look at what pages people are looking at, what content that there is the most engaging. And through that content, a lot of times that's your keyword. Right? And also at the same time, you can use analytics to understand who your audiences are. And that way it can help you form and shape that customer avatar. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see this. We did something like a keyword research for, it's not a research, just showing people, like an electrician, sort of what pricing or what keywords that they have. So because electrician is a very generic word as well. So a lot of the cost per click is actually quite expensive. If you look in, there's actually a breakdown to say how much will it cost on a per click session. Okay, so even though electrician is probably the one that has the most search, okay, my recommendation for him is actually that's probably not your main keyword that you should put your money in. Okay, but whereas he's also doing a lot of other services that's very specific to him. Okay, so for example, he's doing EV charger, electric vehicle chargers, and that's something that's not as competitive, but yet there's still a demand. There's still enough search volume. So you have to start understanding what products and services that you're selling first, and then also understanding what the pricing is before you start managing that budget amount to go in. And at the same time, keyword tools also give you a breakdown into the location, where it is at the bottom here. So we start looking at bulk majority is actually Vancouver, got cut off. But then the rest you can see Delta, Woodbridge, even Salisbury Island. So you can sort of see where the people are coming from, and also the device that they're looking at.
This is not Google Analytics, this is within Google Ads?
This is within Google Ads. That's right. That's right. Okay. And then Gavin actually did something as well. Just so I just want to showcase. So that was the last slide was the graphical format. Okay, and this is for the people who likes numbers. This is kind of what the breakdown is when you start downloading it and start analyzing the numbers. So let's say for Central Park, executive office is a big offering that they have is actually the virtual office and the mailbox rental. So when we start doing research, we can start understanding about how many clicks that there are, searches that there are, okay, and then what the suggested budget is up top. And with that budget, it does give you a kind of breakdown, say how many people within this area are searching for keywords like this, okay? And once we have this information, my goal is to start asking clients, say, hey, how much is your, let's say your mailbox rental is going to cost, right? Like if it costs, let's say, is it 50? Is it 50 or 60? Yeah, let's say from $50, let's say $50. So mailbox rental, $50. But we need to start working backwards, okay? So let's say if your service is $50. Let's say if Google Ads, this one is how much clicks? Let's say mailbox rental costs $230 as an ad rate to promote each month, and then it brings in about 126 clicks. So that means you have 126 people who are interested in this keyword. But let's say you only close, let's say these people, 10% of them actually call you and book an appointment and say, hey, can I understand a little bit more, right? So that's your 10% people who would actually become the leads, right? Who would be sort of just shopping around. A lot of times they shop around. It's like, I want to know more information. Let's say 12 people actually come in and start understanding. Let's say at the end of the month, you sign on, let's say 5% or sorry, 50% of them. Okay, so that's 6 people. Okay, with 6 people sign up, with $50 a month, that's about $300 a month. And that should be enough to cover your ads for doing mailbox rental. So this is the sort of the logic that goes behind it, is to understand what your product is, and then start looking through what traffic that you have and what ad dollars can bring that traffic and convert.
The forecasts are based on data from like last year, or?
Yeah, so the forecast is usually based on, you don't have it shown here, but it usually have a period of time, so it's per month, usually by the month to month, but you can also make it to 12 months, just to average out the seasonalities if you need to. Yep, sure. Okay. So the way that the AdWords ad account works is that you can break it into different campaigns and different ad groups. So each campaign, I know it seems very hierarchical, but the reason why there's different campaigns is that you can separate your offerings into different campaigns. So let's say mailbox rental, I'll probably put it into one campaign. Your office rental is probably a different campaign. So you can use different geographic location to target your virtual, for example, your virtual mailboxes. It can be promoted not just in Vancouver, or in fact you can promote it elsewhere. You may even get better feedback. Okay, and you can within the campaign you can separate into groups, and within the group, the difference is that you can put in different ad copy based on different keywords. I know it gets a little bit more detailed right now, but the way that we look at it, it's, let's say, you can probably group these 5 into one group, and then start having a different ads for it. Or we can start grouping them into a geographic location. Let's say I want to just focus on Burnaby, and the ad can be all about Burnaby, even though in Vancouver be very close to Burnaby, right? Or vice versa. Or you can try to target potential clients who wants to just move from out of the province into Vancouver, into BC, right? So that is very different ads, it's different intention when people start looking for your service. So that's why there is this different structure of how campaigns and ad groups used to be. Okay, some tips and tricks. A big tip is that don't just use your homepage, your website's homepage as your ads destination page. Okay, let's say if people are looking for a specific item or service, please bring them to that service page. Okay, because first of all it improves your relevancy of your ad, and also people when they click on something, they don't need to look for your particular service that you are advertising for. So make sure that you have a specific page that is for your advertised service and products. A lot of people, when they don't have a website, we can still help them, and that's by creating something called a landing page. Okay, so a landing page is something that is with a very specific purpose and a very specific call to action. Okay, that call to action a lot of times would say something like, "Oh, subscribe to my mailing list." I'm sure you all seen that before. When you click on something, it has nothing; it just has a picture of that draws your attention. It has a little bit more information, some of the product or the services benefits, okay, or the features of the product or service, and the big button that says "Click me." Right, click me. A lot of times will be, why you need to download this video, why this ebook, or why you want to watch this video. That's something called the lead magnet. So having the right lead magnet to the right audience will help drive people to the website and start leaving an email for them. Let's say, do we need an example for that, or are you sort of something like this? Let's see, I think of an example. But yeah, let's say for example you're looking for how to get in shape in 20 days or something. So that's the title of your book, right? And it's like, okay, that sounds interesting. I'm going to put in my email. Let's go start clicking, start understanding what it is. So once the business capture your email, they can start the nurturing cycle and say, hey, by the way, this is my day 1 of my 20-day cycle. So just keep yourself in mind, and you can bet you that each individual email would have something to sell you. Okay, have something to sell you. So this is how they start using this technique to start drawing in people. So that's the first tip. Second tip is that making sure that you play with a different match type of the keywords. So when we search Vancouver accountant, that can be a very broad keyword. Okay, but we can also make it as an exact keyword. So people who are not just looking for Vancouver accountant, people can say Vancouver accounting or West Vancouver accounting. That would still be part of that broad keyword search match. So if you have something very exact, you may want to put it in bracket, okay, in the little bracket that says, oh, I only want people who says Vancouver accounting, okay. And a lot of times too, that's why Google Ads is a continuing, manageable process, because a lot of times people search things that you didn't think about, and that's highly irrelevant, right, to your business. One example is just fun. Actually, I did have a hearing aid company before that I was helping with, and for the longest time people search for earplugs. Okay, so for them, it's not something that's highly profitable, right? So they can say, no, I don't want anybody from earplugs coming in. So it's like, okay, so we make that as a negative keyword, right? So people who search for earplugs, the ads don't show up, even though they search about ear, that kind of thing, right? The third thing is that use something called a site links. So nowadays with ads, you can have different small bits of information. So like these, like tax service, business bookkeeping, personal bookkeeping. These are what we call the site links. So in these ones too, our service, our pricing. These are something that you can click into, and you can actually get into the specific page of the service. So make sure you use that, because Google Ads, the goal for Google is to make sure that people click on the ads so that they make money. Okay, so they're trying to use different ways to entice potential people to click onto the website. So let's say, Harold, for you, it can be some of the text should be like over how many years of experience or your certification. That would be your site link that you should put on as well. So it's just that would be beyond the number of characters that's being allowed in your headline and also the ad description. So these are the tips that I would suggest. Don't forget to advertise on mobile devices, because over 70% nowadays the searches are on mobile. Next thing is that making sure that you're actively managing it. If some of the ads or the keywords are not performing, that's not gonna. You should just pause it, because every day we kind of work. The way that Google Ads works too is that there's you can set up a defined amount of budget. Let's say if your monthly budget is let's say $600 per month. Okay, so if you divide it into 30 days, that means that your daily budget is $20. So depending on the keyword, you have a different amount that each time the ad is clicked on, you'll be charged. Okay, so if once that daily amount is exhausted, the ads won't be shown until the next day. Okay, so it's quite important to say, okay, if my clients usually call me from 9 to 12, for example, then you may want to just focus your ads from there at that time during your business hours.
You can make that specific?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
How do you focus on mobile devices?
Just making sure that you put an ad on the mobile device.
You have to be specific whether the ads you do on mobile or on laptop or on a computer?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. And also,
and if you don't make that distinction,
then it's just going to be the same one. Let's say on mobile, you probably want to say, call me. And that call
it's a different ad.
Yeah, that call ad can be just, if they click on it, it just starts calling.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the difference of mobile ads as well. And sometimes, a lot of times on mobile ads, people are very location conscious as well. Not necessarily for you, but people are very location conscious. Then you can say, oh, visit us now. Right, visit us at this location. So that's a little bit different from desktop ad. Another big tip is that if you do need to attract different ethnic groups, you can actually set in different keywords in the language, and that will show up in different language ads as well. Oftentimes, different ethnic ads, they have a better return, the better conversion. First of all, because there's less competition usually, And second of all, you specify the niche that you can attract.
Does the ad come up in that language?
Yeah, yes. Depends on how you make it. You have to actually manually write that in that language.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it can show up in English as well. Yeah. Okay, and we mentioned about a little bit about the return on investment, and that really does speak with the conversion. Okay, so with Google Ads, and if you combine that with Google Analytics, okay, you have to make sure that you set it what is your goal. Okay, if you are selling a specific product or service, you can actually measure that and say, okay, these are the product or service that's being sold on my website. Or what you can do is on Google Analytics, you can set up a goal that says, if people land on this page, it's worth this much. Okay, a lot of business owners say, I'm not tracking my product sales or my service sales on the website because I can't, because as a service business, right, I don't have a good metric. Right? And my suggestion is that put a number on it. Let's say you put a $2 on it. Let's say